We're going to explain how to resolve the attribute error module TensorFlow has no attribute data error. This error typically arises when you're trying to access TensorFlow's datasets using an outdated or incorrect approach. TensorFlow's data loading mechanisms have evolved, and the data attribute is no longer the standard way to access datasets. The solution involves using the appropriate TensorFlow functions for loading and pre-processing your data. Let's look at how to fix it, step by step. 1. Verify TensorFlow installation and version. The first step is to ensure you have TensorFlow correctly installed and that you're using a compatible version. Outdated versions might not have the updated dataset loading functions. Open your terminal or command prompt and type pip show TensorFlow. This will display information about your TensorFlow installation, including the version number. If it's outdated, use pip install or upgrade TensorFlow to update to the latest stable version. 2. Understand TensorFlow. Datasets. TensorFlow offers several ways to handle datasets. The primary method is using tf-data dataset. This API provides a flexible and efficient way to create, transform, and manage datasets. You no longer directly access data through a data attribute. 3. Loading data. Using tf-data dataset. Instead of using TensorFlow data, use tf-data dataset. This function allows you to load data from various sources, including CSV files, text files, and TF record files. For example, to load data from a CSV file, you would use something like this: dataset eal tf-data, dataset.from tensor slices data. Replace data with the actual data you want to load, whether it's a NumPy array or a list. If you're reading from a file, you might use tf.data.experimental.make CSV's dataset or similar methods. 4. Correcting your code. The core problem is the incorrect usage of TensorFlow.data. Find any lines in your code that use TensorFlow.data or TensorFlow.data.dataset incorrectly. For example, if you have a line like data equal TensorFlow.data some function to replace TensorFlow.data with tf.data. Make sure all your data loading and pre-processing steps utilize the tf-data.dataset API. Consult the official TensorFlow documentation for detailed examples and functions specific to your data format, CSV, TF records, etc. 5. Example. Let's say you have a NumPy array called myData. Instead of data.tensorflow.data.myData, you would write Python import TensorFlow as tf import NumPy as np myData equals np.array 1 2 3 4 5 6 dataset equals tf-data. Dataset.from tensor slices myData. For element in dataset, print element 6. Restart your kernel, if using Jupyter or similar. After making the changes, restart your Jupyter Notebook kernel or your Python interpreter to ensure that the changes are fully loaded. This step is often crucial for resolving issues stemming from outdated imports or cached objects. By carefully following these steps, you should be able to resolve the attribute error module TensorFlow has no attribute data error, and load your data correctly using the tf-data API. Remember to consult the official TensorFlow documentation for the most up-to-date information and best practices.